Hi, my name is Dale Hansen. I'm with VF4, and I thought we'd try a new approach, a new series called Let's Learn a Little Bit. Not only do I learn every single day, I've been working on Volkswagens and driving them. Most of my life, I drove them and I did a lot of repairs for myself and a few friends and a few customers, but lately I've been getting more as I'm getting into my semi-retirement years of building motors and helping other customers. Right now I'm working on between two of my own motors that we're doing some adjustments to and 5 new builds. So we got a lot of motors going on and I'm learning a lot. Learning a lot more than I thought I was going to. I thought I knew a lot, but you know what? Let's learn. Let's learn a lot. Let's learn a little. Let's learn together. So thank you for being part of the series. And so what we're going to start with today is we're going to start on carburetors. So here we go. So what we have here is we have an original Weber carburetor, and this is from Italy, as you can tell. It's from Italy, but it's the later models. It doesn't have that style, and this is a 40. And then we have the newer style. This is only a couple years old. This is actually mine. That goes with one of my motors, and this is from Spain. As we can tell it. This one's from Spain, there it is, and this is the 44. And we'll just call this our global manufacturing overseas CC. You know what CC stands for? This is copy China or China copy. I've heard it both ways, but it doesn't matter. We're going to tell you kind of what's going on. And let's get into this. So it all started with this customer who actually has a Porsche 356A. And he's got these dual 40s, and they've had a lot of life to them. They've been rebuilt many times. I did another video on it. Stuff has been blown out. And he has his jets that were for 32s and his vents, or as they say, chokes, and then all his jets that we haven't cleaned yet. So we're going to put all that and we're going to end up putting that in some brand new carburetors, these copies. So the first thing we did was we ordered these in. He decided to go this route. And this is the Chinese copy ones, the 40 IDFs. So we took out his 32s out of here and we went to put these things in, and there was a lot of movement. So it looks like that these are a lot like the empties. So the 40s and their 44s have the same 42 millimeter their outer diameter in here. It would be the outer diameter of your choke. So here we have on my Weber, my 44s from Spain, I have 36. And this is for my 2332, my scat motor. And this has a 42 millimeter. And it fits in here pretty good. It's got a little wiggle room, which is probably not a big thing. And then I put them in here in the Chinese copy. And the tolerance is nice and tight. I mean, it seems to have about half. When I go down here, it seems to have about half the movement. I was going to throw in my dial indicator, but I decided not to. You could just tell this is about half the movements. So, number one thing is if you are going to go with the Amazon, all the other manufacturers are now starting to do them. The IAP, the CP1, a lot of people are now doing their own, or you go to Amazon. If you're going to go with the 40s, do know that if you don't want the 28s that they come with, they all come with their little 28s. If you don't want the 28s, and if you upgrade and you go to CB, and you get the chokes that you want, because we all can go to the charts and we know that different size chokes is going to be for the different size of the motors and different size of your valves. And it's all the formulas. We're not going through that today. But if we're going to go through that, just know you got to order the 44 version, not the 40s. Because here's the 40 version. And you can tell the originals 40 goes in there. So if you're going to order your different chokes and you have these copies, you got to go with the 44 Weber style and order your chokes for that. And so that's the first thing. Second thing is I thought, let's look at some of the quality of what we have going on here. Unfortunately, as I've been in another industry and in product development and customer support and been doing that for almost 40 years. But I've been playing with Volkswagens and doing things on the side like this. I have learned that even though I'm a veteran from the Army and I'm all about America and American manufacturing, these are not made in America. These are made in overseas. They're in Europe. As things progress, like your phones and everything else, if you want quality, you're going to pay for it. But some of these copies, I'm going to tell you, they're not that bad. So if I look in here and I look at some of the castings, and so here I'm just going to kind of come in here and we're going to zoom in there. There we go. Whoop. Come on. If you look at some of the casting, this is, I know some of these areas we're not using in the IDF profile for Volkswagen, but I'm looking at some of the castings. Now, this is the original one from Italy. I come over here to one that I recently got a couple years ago from Spain, and I come along here and start looking at some of these castings, and you could just tell some of them are not finished up as well. But then you see a lot of reviewers going, oh, Chinese copies, they're crap. They'll just instantly start showing everything that they think is wrong with it. Sure, I can come along to brand new Webers and do the same thing. And they say, oh, you can take them out of the box. You don't have to adjust them and line them. These are junk. You have to spend all this time. I'm gonna differ with you. These have been working pretty well on some customers' motors, and a lot of my friends are running them too. So I come and look at these castings, I can come in here and look at these castings, and I look over here, and I just showed you the chokes that go in here, the tolerances. And when we start going into all the details, where was the one I wanted to get into? Oh, yes, there it is. I wanted to get into here. So when we look at our fuel coming in, and this is the original from Italy. If we look at our fuel coming in, we're going to zoom in there. Hold on here. I think we're going to use this one right here. We're going to use my magnifying. So if we get in here and you see, it looks pretty good. It's just old and dirty. Then I'm going to bring in the copy. And you look all the way deep in there. That's looking nice and good. I want to show you something here. Here's a casting, brand new Weber from Italy. And you could see, see that little lip there on the left-hand side? So when the fuel is coming in, it actually has a little bit of restriction in there. I mean, you can't see it from this point of view. But you could see on the left hand of there. Again, I'm not hating the Webers, just showing you QC. And that's what I've been doing for the last about 15, 20 years now in another industry where I'm in product development and QC. And I got to look at things from a third And then I come in here, and the same thing is when I'm zooming down and I'm looking inside the original Webers, and I'm looking at how the fuel's coming in. It goes from the bowl into, and you look in this one here, and it looks pretty good. So what we're trying to show here, it's kind of hard. There it is. I'm looking inside there. And I'm going to come over here to my Webers. And you can tell already, it's not machined, it's not finished. It has some rough edges in there. So again, in the castings, I'm not as impressed as everyone says. And of course, you're going to have, I've been running Webers for 20 years. I race all the V8s on the street. I'm from California. I'm from Florida. These things are the greatest. They've always never done me well, you know. Well, I just want to look at the details of the quality of how it's manufactured. And I did a little video. Is it going to pop up? There it is. Oh, so here's a little video I did. It was on one of my engines. And these are copy carburetors. So I just want to show you something right here. So that's a 1917 motor with some 40s on there that have all, I went through them and I aligned them. I did all the adjustments and they ran pretty good, you know? So one of the biggest things I want to say is, yes, let's learn about it with the replacement parts. And you have these wonderful companies like CB Performance, and they can pretty much get you anything you want. And I've noticed even in some of their kits, there's not Redline. They're doing a lot of their replacement parts for Weber carburetors that are not Redline. So, you know, CB is one of the best in the industry. Of course, you can say, all right, I have 1,000 horsepower Volkswagen that's nitrous, and they're not. Okay, I'm talking about 90% of the people who are getting aftermarket Volkswagen stuff, not the guys running 36 horsepower that has to make sure it came from Germany only in September on some ship. I'm in 1953. I'm talking about aftermarket, where you want a little more kick to it, 90% or more. Everybody knows CB's good quality, and they're starting to go in that direction too. So it's just one of those things I wanted to look into. So if you get a lot of replacement parts from CB, and they're retrofittable right into a lot of these copies. So the other thing I like to talk about just a little bit here is I started looking at some of the fit and finish. And I looked at the original chokes or vents, and these things were pretty smooth. They didn't really have much lips on there. Very, very smooth. The aftermarket ones from CB, boy, this is just, it's beautiful. You don't even want to run them. They look so beautiful. There's no edges, no lips, it is a pure manufactured. But then when I went to the ones from Spain, one of the newest ones from Spain, let's go in there a little bit. Come on. There's some lips, and you can see. And one side, not much, and the other side, there's a little bit more. So this thing, about 60% of it was smooth, and then about 30 to 40%, you have this lip here. And yes, it's probably not going to do a lot. But again, we're talking about quality control here. The Chinese clone, I looked at, and yes, it definitely had some good lips on it. It was a little rough. So what I did was I just kind of cleaned it up a little bit. Just a little bit, nothing a lot. And I'm going to gruff it up a little bit, just so it has a little, and I was able to get it in a very short time. I was able to just do a quick cleanup on that and get it better than the ones that came from Spain, brand new, out of the box. We're talking pretty much $1,000, $900 to $1,100 for original Webers. And then the rest of the castings was pretty much the same. It was very, very good. But I did notice when I was going through here we go. When I'm looking into here, yes, there is a casting issue with this CC carburetor. So basically all I'm gonna do, so we're gonna come in here with a Dremel, and I'm just gonna kind of clean it up a little bit. There it is. I'm just gonna go in there and I'm just gonna clean it up. Just like you do with anything else, you pour it and polish and you clean it up. All the good racers that I know of, that I have, when I lived in Palmdale, California for years, there was a guy who raced in the Baja 1000. He was in a 1600 class. I forgot his exact class, but he was sponsored by Valvoline, and he would every weekend or every other weekend, he'd tear everything down, do a final inspect. He would do fine inspections, and he would clean them all up. If he didn't, he'd buy a new part, and he would spend a lot of time on every new part, opening everything up. I mean, his micro adjustments. So that was stuff I've learned about. And all the big builders do the same thing. You just don't trust stuff out of the box. So there you go. There's a little bit about the clones versus the originals versus some of the newer ones. So kind of wanted to go a little bit to the next level here on carburetors. Yes, we're going to get a little bit into carburetors and fuel systems, if that's okay with you. And because it is snow outside, I am not in one of my two barns. I'm in my garage. So there's my wife's car. And so I'm in here, and I got my cup car in here. And I'm just going to show you a couple little things here. So let's go through some fuel systems here. So the first thing that I like, and yes, it's not from MP, it's not from Weber, and I know there's they have their higher versions of it, but for $25 to $35, you get an air cleaner here with dual. I love the dual, and this is not, here's the customer has from his Porsche with a K&N. And I know the new MPs and the Webers, or whatever kits that came with the Webers, have the little bolt that comes up, and it's just one. And when you look at pressure around the rim, and you have just one post, so you have this coming up, and you have one area, and it's just mounted in the middle, you have a potential of it not having a firm seal all the way around. I know some of the off-road guys, they have versions where they'll have a bolt here and a bolt here and two here. I mean, they go crazy. They're off-road, they're going. But here you look at the thickness, and I should have brought my gauge over here. So, there it is. So if we look at the thickness here, I could flex this thing pretty easily. Look at this thickness of this new one. And a lot of companies are making them. IAP's one, and a couple other companies all have their factories. So here you have two studs. So it equalizes the air cleaner coming down. So to me, I like that. I will not go with a single screw anymore. I will, if somebody has an existing one, I'll clean them up, but I'll recommend, hey, for $50 to $75, you can go with a better system, a new air cleaner with new soft and pliable rubber, and then a nice thick top. Here's another thing. Most of the people that I know, including myself for years, we get air cleaners and we just throw them on, clamp them down, and run them. But it's interesting, some of the newer cars that I've had, from my GMCs to the Dodges to Fords and stuff, we'll get the K&N air cleaner. And of course, K&N says, hey, you got to get your little kit. Now, this is not K&N. This is from some automotive parts stores locally. And here it basically is. You get your cleaner and you get your lube. And that's what they say. You gotta clean them and you gotta lube them. I think it's John over there at Powerhouse. I mentioned something about K&N air filters because I ran them on my motor and one of my customer motors. We just threw in some K&Ns and a little red. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm running K&Ns. He said, no, I'm running Impies. Well, to the best of my knowledge, the Impies are kind of white. So he uses the K&N oil. And he says, you got them oil because if not, they're not going to collect and you have a high potential of dirt getting in. So John over there at Powerhouse, good stuff. Just reminding me, hey, let's just get back to some basics of what we're doing with newer cars, but let's work a little bit on vintage cars on that. So there's my little rant. Not only getting a thicker, I know they got the aluminum ones. You can get them from Impy and a couple other ones that are really good. But here, you get the whole kit, pretty inexpensive, and we know most people who are going to be modifying Volkswagens, I'm not talking the real street, the guys from Southern Cal. I'm talking about, the other 60 to 80% of the people. They just got to keep their costs down. So this is a great idea on that. Okay, so now we're going to move to other systems here. One of my pet peeves here is I have a customer will buy a motor, and it's a 2-liter or some other type of motor, and we run the dual carburetors. So we got these dual carburetors. And on the dual carburetors, we get into, if they want, they put the AN6 fittings on. So we got this, look at that. Yeah, that's not your size, but if you see the inside, maybe 50% of what you're looking at. So you have 2 carburetors. And so this is going to 2 carburetors. And then we get our regulator. And look at this. Okay, so we get our regulator. And yes, that's pretty big. And we know we adjust it down to 1.5 to 3, okay? And we know that. And then when we get some nice fuel pumps like your Carters, here we go. Come on, here we go. Oh, one day I'm going to have a GoPro or something, but until then, this is what we have. So then we go to a Carter and we have pretty big size for going on there. But as we know in manufacturing and in racing, you're only as good as the weakest link. So this is what I believe is one of the weakest links in the Volkswagen world, and even the Porsche 356s and 912s, some of the guys I've been talking to over there. So we get all these fuel systems, and the first thing I say is, hey, when was the last time you flushed out your fuel tank? They're like, it was done when it was restored. When it was restored. Oh, 1987, 1995. Okay. This is a new fuel tank. I have used this thing less than 50 miles, and it's been sitting. But it already, can't see in there. It's already started getting a lot of surface rust in there, and on the inside too. So here's the thing that we're talking about. So we get into these fuel filters. So we have our smaller ones, and we have our bigger ones, and all your fuel is coming from this little pipe here, which is very fine. If you're running maybe up to 150 horsepower, and a lot of it is your driving, is your foot 3/4 into it when you're more than 35 seconds to a minute? Are you dumping all your reserve fuel out of here? And we all know when you have the same amount of air and you go less fuel, it goes lean, and that is a cutting torch because now your engine is nice and hot and kaboom, it all goes. So the first thing I say, and now I'm including on every one of my engine builds, or if I'm working on somebody's carburetors, is we have a nice little kit. And what I say is, flush this, show me the video you flushed it, install this, show me the video that you installed it, and then throw on your regulator and showing me the pressure. and then I'll give you a warranty on your motor or my work. If you're not going to do that, I'm not interested. Now, this is from a Super Beetle. If it wasn't, you'd have you can fit this on the bottom. And CB does this wonderful kit here that if you have that and you want to go to AN, this is an AN6 fitting. And I like AN6 fittings, especially for myself. So that's my number one issue that I have with running with carburetors is we're not flushing the tank and we're not making sure that the filter and everything is clean. And these things are pretty inexpensive. Everyone's got their own version of it. This is IAP. They do a great job. Yes, it's not a Weber. No way. You have things that repair your car that works with the Weber that's not Weber. Yes. Oh, no. It's from a lot of the same factories are right down the street that are making the copy carburetors. So you're buying that anyways. I wonder where this is made. We won't talk about that. So the number two issue with your fuel system for me would be your fuel lines. Really? So here is what I believe. This is 2025. We have a lot of ethanol in our fuel. Some people say, well, I get rec fuel and I go down to the gas station and I pay an extra $1 per gallon and it's a better fuel. Great. That's not what 90% of the people are doing in their Volkswagens, okay? They're going with a higher octane fuel, but it still has ethanol in it, and that eats up your lines. So yes, everyone wants the original German line. It was designed for that. Don't change it. My theory is it's 2025. Get a fuel line that's designed for your fuel. And you have all your different sizes depending on your fuel system that you have. So that's my rant number two. Number three, run new clamps. Just run the clamps. Get new fuel lines every 2-3 years. Just run brand new clamps. You want to be stuck on the side of the road. You want to have issues with your fuel system where it's and you have all your issues with it being clogged. Just run some of the newer fuel lines. And if you update it to some of the bigger sizes, if you have more than 150 horsepower, or you're really running it hard and you're emptying your bowl for a long time, which you can do on your, 100, 120 horsepower. You can run, I run 120 horsepower and run this thing dry. I can't, that won't do it. In some of the racing that I used to do out there in the mountains and in Mulholland Drive, Santa Susana Pass, I ran it hard and I leaned these things out because I just kept my foot in the pedal for so long. So what I'm saying is fuel lines and clamps. Why mess around with all the old stuff? And then it would be the filters. I know Volkswagens, hey, we've been running these filters forever. Sure, go to your lawn and garden store, go to your Lowe's, go to your Ace Hardware and go for what you get for your lawnmower, put it in a Volkswagen. And there's a theory, I want to see my fuel, I want to see if it's dirty. Well, they have higher grades of these. This is a higher grade of this. This is actually in great, great condition. These are the higher grade ones. So when the fuel comes in here, the pressure hits over here. And it does real, real well. They also have the ones that you can open up and they have a cleaning filter. For me, I like some of these higher standard ones. A lot of the German guys run this on their, I'm calling them their cup cars. They're Volkswagens. They're more like Porsches. They're going to throw these things in. They're not, when I was over there for years, I didn't see them running all these little filters. They ran big old filters and they just, every 6 months, every second or third time they adjusted all their valves and cleaned their oil filters and got new oil. They just throw this away and put a new one in. And every one of the guys I was talking to, I think his name was Hans, of course. He just says every 2 years, he just puts in new fuel lines. Every oil change he throws this in is like $3. And every year when he parks it, he opens them all up, he cleans them all out. And he said he's been running them for like 8 years. He also runs in the cup car circuits. So there you go on that. I want to show you another alternative. This is going to be from my car. So if you're going to be running a normal fuel tank and you're going to run something like this, and you're going to have the dual carbs, of course, my recommendation is to go with a Carter fuel pump. And there's a lot of other ones, but you know, you get the fuel filter, you get the fuel pump, and we all know that when you have your fuel up front, that pump works a lot more efficient pumping the gas back than the tank's up there and it's sucking it and then it's pushing it. It was not designed for that. The design of these engines, and if you look at the 911s and stuff, they're going to be up here. Now, this is for my car. Yes, it's a sleeper and a fuel cell that was done for me by Advanced Chassis. And I'm putting all my AN lines here. And then we made this all serviceable. It's a Super Beetle. It's a 1302. It's flat windshield, Super Beetle, McPherson strut. And we're running up here the fuel cell. And then this is the vent. And then we'll have everything done up here. And this was made for me. And so we can get rid of the slosh by some of the other things that they did. And this is my return line. So when I run my turbo system down the road, I can run my fuel injected turbo system. I can run my return line there, and this is my line out. Right now I got my original line down here. I'm going to leave that there, but I'm also going to put in a new fuel line going all the way back. So I'm running my AN6 here, and I thought I had it here. I didn't, but I'll be running my my filter. And then it goes to, first time it's coming out, and then I'll have a switch on-off switch. Not a switch, a lever. So I can turn it off. And then I'll have my fuel filter here, my K&N with 6 millimeter going to my Carter rotary, my bigger one. And then I'm doing all that with all my new lines and going down there. So that'll all be over there. So this is the way I'm doing my fuel system. So it'll be very, very easy to service and run. So I know this is a long video. We've talked about a lot of things. But, you know, let's learn things together. Oh, forgot. So here's one of my little things that I've been doing. Some people love them. Some people say they're not needed. We all know about the idle jets that plug. I like what CB did. EMPI now puts them in theirs. So every one of these carburetors that I've been recently doing, that's a platinum, a premium or platinum build. Now with the new premium and platinum builds, I'm installing these. So we drill these out so that when it comes time to service, you take out your idle jets from the side, take your air cleaner off, take an air compressor, and you can blow there, blow in here, put it back together. And from some of the guys that really run their vehicles hard, especially in Germany, and they've had these IDF styles, they said that that works great. So there you go, a little bit of fuel system, talking about it. Hopefully this helps. Let's learn together the good stuff.